Jai Jagannath. Okay, thank you.
Jai Shriman Narayana.
Jai Shriman Narayana. Thank you for this meeting. I hope that the things we are going to discuss will be helpful to many people. So I really appreciate your cooperation in this regard. So you said you wanted to talk about what we can do practically in our devotional service. Is that correct?
Yes. First of all, Mataji, may I offer my obeisances to you and thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate that, and that's may I just express my gratitude for being on. And
Jai Jagannath. Okay.
Jai Jagannath. And so yes, my question really, Mataji, relates to how do we live the Bhagavad Gita in our daily lives as people in 2025, jobs, family, children, the usual pressures. And also, Mataji, we read a lot about devotional service, Mataji. We write a lot about we read a lot about bhakti. We also hear a lot about karma yoga. And what my question to you, Mataji, is really how do we live that practically? What does it mean? What does it mean? Because the reason why, Mataji, this is important is that there is sometimes a perception that bhakti is a far off state where no one can ever get to, no one in the modern world, no one with a job and family and commitments can ever get to. There is this perception that it's something that is such a concentrated state of being that it's beyond that most people. And then at the same time, Mataji, we hear about devotional service and we hear about karma yoga, we hear about duty without attachment. So what I wanted to really gain from you, Mataji, is the knowledge as to how we live the Bhagavad Gita daily. What does karma yoga, bhakti yoga truly mean? And is there a distinction? Are they finite? Are they purely separate in action? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on these, Mataji.
Okay. So we are going to go as per what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, but trying to explain it in very practical terms. Although Krishna is also very practical, because what he says, Yat karoshi yadasnasi yad juhosi dadasi yad kurusva madarpanam. Arpanam is a very interesting concept because it's quite different from the Abrahamic concept. The translation is Madarpanam means do it for me, do it by meditating on me, being conscious of me, offering to me. Now, obviously, that's Krishna talking. Okay. Now, the word bhakti is devotion, love, and respect. It's not just devotion. Now, we have the idea, that there is a lot of cultural superimposition in the general ideas of people when we talk about religion, devotion, and so many things in the same field. Because when we talk about devotion and religion, people usually, because they have been exposed to typically Abrahamic, typically Christian mentality, they visualize something like a monk or a nun, that doesn't do anything else, just praying. And that is sometimes reinforced also with the Buddhist projection of the Buddhist monks, the bhikshu, that is a kind of sadhu, but more like a sannyasi than a normal, simple sadhu. And that is interesting because in Gita, Krishna is saying that the real yogi, the real vairagi, is not someone who does not kindle the fire. Now, basically, a monk or a nun or a bhikshu is not cooking for himself or herself. And that's the same rule for the sannyasis. In the traditional Vedic system, when you cook, you have to light the fire, right? They don't have electric, air fryers. They have to light the fire, which is also very simple. It's not very complicated. But the fire is considered sacred. So if someone wants to light a fire, you cannot use the fire. You have to respect the fire as a sacred manifestation of the power of God, Agni Deva. So a grihasta, who is a householder of the three higher varnas, has the duty to worship the fire. And this is, this was taken from the Vedic tradition by Zoroaster, and it was perpetuated in various ways. But the fire is a very primordial element. So now, when we approach the fire for our daily needs, if we are civilized, if we are in the Dvija categories, twice born, of the Varna system, Varna Ashrama system, we honor the fire. So we don't just kindle and use the fire casually. If we don't want to go through the ritualistic requirements for fire worship, then we can, give up these duties, but then we cannot cook. We cannot use the fire casually, callously, neglectfully. This is why the sannyasis, the vairagis, do not cook their food. They cannot. There is a rule. They cannot cook their food. They have to go and ask for cooked food from the Dvija grihastas. Or they can eat raw food, such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, sprouted seeds, all the things that can be eaten raw, and especially fruits, milk, and leaves, which are considered the ideal diet for a sannyasi, for a sadhu. Now, this is also imitated by the Buddhist monks. The Buddhist monks and nuns are not cooking for themselves. They live in a community where there is only one person, or specific persons who are in charge of the cooking. So they just receive the alms. In fact, the word bhikshu means mendicant. Someone who is asking for alms, right? But the Bhagavad Gita and Bhakti are not intended, they're not meant for sannyasis. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, you will see that Arjuna is a kshatriya, grihastha kshatriya, and Krishna constantly tells him he has to perform his duty. And in the Karma Yoga and the Sannyasa Yoga chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this specific verse, that the real Vairagi, the real yogi, is not someone who does not kindle the fire, does not use the fire, but someone who performs the prescribed duties without attachment to the results. You remember that verse?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
This means that there is no difference in the practical aspects of bhakti for someone who has a job, a family, and social duties, professional duties, and whatever duties. It's the same. It's the same. So Krishna says, do whatever is your duty. Do your duty in the best possible way, but do not expect to be entitled to enjoy the results of your duty, of your activities. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phalesu kadachana. This is for everyone. Sannyasis, vanaprasthas, grihasthas, brahmacharis, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishyas, everyone is supposed to do their duty in the best possible way without being attached to enjoying the results, the fruits. Don't ever expect, don't work with the purpose of getting some results for your own self. Of course, we work with expecting to create some good results, but not for ourselves. We want to create some good results as a service to the everything, to the tattva, to the Brahman, Atman, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And that is it, Mad Arpanam, that Krishna is talking about. What is mad? Why Krishna says to me, offer to me? What is the me that Krishna is talking about? Krishna is not talking about some of himself as a separate, independent person. Krishna is not saying, you work for me, obey my commands, my commandments, my orders, and just do my business, do my, work for my benefit, and do not do benefit for anyone else. Krishna never says that. In fact, he says many times that the real yogi, real devotee, should work for the benefit of all beings. Right? So when Krishna says, whatever you do, offer to me, and then he says, you should work for the benefit of all beings, What does that mean? That Krishna is all beings. Right? We cannot serve Krishna with devotion if we don't have love and devotion to all beings. Because all the beings are the body of Krishna, are the Vishvarupa. The universal community is the Vishvarupa, which is the body of Krishna, that Krishna shows Arjuna when Arjuna asks him, how can we meditate on you? So Krishna shows the Vishvarupa, the Virat Rupa. And in the Virat Rupa, Krishna says, all the beings are in me. It means that if we work for the benefit of all beings, we are working for the benefit, we are offering our work to God. Is this clear?
It is very clear, Mataji, and I think when you brought in the Vishvarupa, that makes it very, very clear. So with that being said, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Of this. There are some people, Mataji, and it may represent a cultural milieu that I've been raised in, but there are some people who say that bhakti is only an action that is instructed by a guru that benefits Krishna directly. So whereas your day-to-day work in detachment is not bhakti, and bhakti is a very pure, narrow, strict definition which represents a specific action that propagates Krishna consciousness. So an example of bhakti would be book distribution, whereas doing your day-to-day job with a detached frame of mind, with no expectation of any benefit or entitlement, isn't counted as bhakti. And I'd like your comments on that so-called purist viewpoint, Mataji. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I heard this, I've seen this, but it's a political motivation. It's an instrument for exploitment. That in fact, what these people are saying is bhakti is only the service you do to us. You do to the organization that is controlled and enjoyed by us, by the leader. We are the leaders. We are telling you what to do. Only what we tell you to do is bhakti. Only what benefits us, gives us a profit, fame, money, distinction, followers, whatever, only that is bhakti. What do you think? It's a political exploitation.
That's very interesting. I mean, my wish, Mataji, is to, follow an instruction that Shastra says. So, can you please tell us practically whether the average person in their average job, if they do that job well, thinking of Krishna all the time and not expecting monetary benefit from that job, doing that job,
benefit, not even fame, position, glorification,
any benefit. Is this action counted as bhakti, or is that more a karma yoga type action?
No, that is bhakti. Bhakti is not what you do, is why you do it.
Wonderful. I love that, Mataji. I love that.
Yeah, the devotion is not some particular activity. Is the spirit, the consciousness with that you maintain while you do the same thing. You can wash the pots and with pure devotion. You can take care of your parents in pure bhakti because you see them as representatives of Krishna. You can take care of your family in a perfect,
Mataji, what you're saying is the consciousness in which you do the work that is important, Mataji. It harks back to what we were talking about the other week, about its consciousness that is the determinant of whether the world is a material world or a spiritual world. It's the consciousness here.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Mataji, do you distinguish karma yoga from bhakti yoga as distinct terms?
Karma yoga is just an aspect of bhakti. Karma means dutiful action. It's a consequence of consciousness. It's not different from consciousness. Just like jnana yoga or sannyasa yoga. They're all aspects of consciousness. If you do karma, means you perform your duty, a good karma, okay? But you do it in yoga, in the mentality of union with Bhagavan, with God, then it becomes karma yoga. It's not just karma. So karma yoga is a part of bhakti.
So, Mataji, again, let me ask you on this topic. They say that actions performed with the expectation of benefit carries some form of karmic consequence, whereas an action performed in bhakti, in the mode of bhakti, does not carry a karmic consequence.
Because you're not doing it for yourself. It's all about consciousness.
So let me then ask you, Mataji, that how do you, and again I'm bringing in the higher instruction, the guru arguments, how do you stop some deranged psychopath from thinking, and we've seen this in history before, oh, let me kill a whole load of people because I'm not gaining from it. I'm doing it for some higher purpose. I'm doing it for some greater good. How do you prevent, what separates the serial killer and the psychopath who's not doing it? Because we know a lot of these people do it for some twisted motivation. How do you separate that from the warrior who's doing it for the purposes of a holy war, a just war? Well, what's the distinction, Mataji?
First of all, we have to understand the concept of holy war is not the same. I think you're referring to Dharma Yuddha.
Yes, that's correct.
That's not holy war. What is considered holy war in the Abrahamic mentality is an imperialistic aggression for the conquest and domination. The Dharma Yuddha is to oppose adharma. Dharma Yuddha is only exclusively a defensive action. It's never an aggressive action.
So Mataji, let me then ask you that many a serial killer has managed to, I mean, you could say Jack the Ripper is the most famous example.
If Jack the Ripper was following the order of someone who was, he considered a religious authority, that doesn't make it a holy anything. It has nothing. It's totally adharmic.
No, but what I'm saying is that the Jack the Ripper person and serial killers, they perceive their victims as representative of some form of twisted society. So they will then go out and hurt those people or kill those people. So how do you? What's the distinction between?
The distinction is that the victims of any aggressor are not aggressors. They just have a different way of life.
Indeed, indeed.
You know, we need to understand what is the meaning of aggressor, atataina. You know, in the beginning of Gita, when Arjuna is explaining his perplexity to Krishna and he says that, you know, he thinks that this war is a bad idea, Arjuna says, even if they are aggressors, atataina, you know, these people are still our relatives, friends, family members, you know, well-wishers, whatever. He is using this particular term, atataina. And in my common explanation to the verse, I'm elaborating to this, you know, about this term, and I'm quoting 6 types of aggressors that are defined as atataina, and they're all aggressors. You know, they're all people who come at you to attack you, you know, not to defend anything, but because they want, you know, they hate you, or they want to eliminate you for some reason. So, for example, the 6 types of atataina is someone who attacks you with a lethal weapon, with poison, with fire, you know, and so on. So, in the Vedic system, Vedic society, anyone is entitled to the full force of self-defense. And that is a dharma yuddha.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, with that tangent, forgetting that tangent, so what you're really saying is karma yoga is one aspect of bhakti, in essence. Could you then expand on what the other aspects of bhakti are, if karma yoga is only just one aspect?
For example, you know, all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita have titles with that contain the word yoga. You know, and all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita are dealing with one aspect of bhakti. For you know, for all purposes, yoga and bhakti are the same thing. If you actually read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that Krishna speaks about yoga, and he explains that the specific intimate relationship called bhakti is the same as yoga. So the real yoga, the highest form of yoga, is the pure consciousness. You know, and the pure consciousness, explained in the chapter about bhakti yoga, is going to transform everything into yoga. Like one's prescribed duty. One prescribed duty is not yoga in itself, is not bhakti in itself, but it becomes bhakti, it becomes yoga, when it is touched by the consciousness of bhakti. And so the same thing, the jnana and the sannyasa, and you know, the knowledge of the gunas, and you know, all the other topics, subjects that are elaborated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, they are seen, they're viewed, they're considered as forms of yoga because of the consciousness. Because they're touched by the consciousness, we can call it Krishna consciousness, okay, that's one way to call it, you know, but Krishna in Bhagavad Gita calls it yoga. So, you can do anything. Like Krishna, again, the verse that I was quoting in the beginning, in the start of our conversation, is a famous verse. Yad karoshi yad asnasi, yad juhosi dadasi yad. Whatever you do, yad karoshi means whatever you do. Yad asnasi, whatever you eat. Yad juhosi, whatever you perform as a religious ritual or sacrifice or sacred action. Dadasi yad, whatever you give, means whatever relationship you have, because giving is not just giving charity, it's giving attention to people, it's giving love and affection to your family, to your friends, giving, whatever you give, dadasi yat. Kurosvamadarpanam, do it for me. For me means for a higher purpose, for the transcendental purpose. Not just for the materialistic limited vision of selfishness, of material identification and attachment. You see the difference?
I do indeed. And I think what I've learned in the last 15, 20 minutes is that the distinction between bhakti yoga and karma yoga is at best arbitrary. One aspect is
exactly.
And so in essence, karma yoga is one manifestation, and all the others, such as jhana yoga and all these other things, the knowledge of the self, these are all aspects that encompass what is known as bhakti. That's the first thing that we've learned. The second thing that we've learned is it's not the action itself that determines whether something is karma yoga or bhakti yoga, but rather the consciousness of the individual performing the action.
The devotion.
That is the key determinant of whether an action is karma kanda or yoga. And the idea of this separation between karma yoga and bhakti yoga is an erroneous one to some extent, Mataji. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's delusional. And Krishna in Gita says that one should overcome the illusion of duality.
So, with that being said, Mataji, the average person, the neophyte like myself, can inculcate bhakti straight off the bat just by reading the Bhagavad Gita. You could read the Bhagavad Gita on a Sunday night, go to sleep, and then on a Monday morning you could live a life which has bhakti inculcated. It's not some strict duty that is defined purely on a rigid definition, such as
it's not a politically or socially controlled environment. It's not something that is controlled politically or socially, by anyone. It's your relationship with Krishna.
So, Mataji, with that being said, how do you bring Krishna, how do you bring Krishna into everything? Because, you go outside, you drive to the supermarket.
You don't need to, because Krishna is already everywhere. You don't have to bring Krishna anywhere, because he's already everywhere.
Of course, but we
no. You need to actually realize that. You cannot just go theoretically. Because when you go theoretically, then you say, yes, but, but how to do it? That's because you have not realized it. You just have to open your eyes. You don't have to bring the sun into your life. In the daylight, you just have to open your eyes.
So is not the first step, Mataji, Atma Tattva, Atma realization, the idea that
of course.
we are Atman?
Yeah.
Is that not the first step?
Yeah, but what is this first step? The Atma Tattva means that you realize that you're not the material body, you're not the material mind, you're Atman. So that means you're not limited by identifications and attachments. And if you actually realize that, you will realize that God is also not limited by material identifications and attachments. You are not, Atma Tattva, Atma Vidya means you realize that you're not limited by time, space, and individuality. And then when you realize that, you will be able to realize that God is not limited by time, space, and individuality. That is why the Uttama Adhikari is studying the Shastra, the Madhyama Adhikari studying the Shastra, but the Uttama Adhikari sees Krishna everywhere, in everyone, in everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Because Krishna is already there, you don't need to bring Krishna in.
I think that's a lovely way to look at it. I mean, I walk outside. I walk outside today, and I don't need to think, how do I bring the sun into my life?
Yeah, it's
the sun is there.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of first is Atma Jnana, which is recognizing that you are not the material body, you are Atman, and understanding the relationship of Prakriti and the gunas in your actions. That's a helpful first foundation, isn't it, Mataji?
Yeah, actually, you understand the action of the gunas not on your actions, but on the actions of the body and mind. Because the Atma is not affected by the gunas.
So, Mataji, with that being said, I loved it in your explanation of the gunas in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3.
Yeah.
Then you said it's important not to, whilst it's important to know that you are Atman, conversely, what's also not good, and I'm so glad you spelt it out, because I was thinking, how bad is it that you have to spell it in this day and age, that you have to spell this out? But at the same time, what you shouldn't do is say, oh, well, if I've done a bad thing, it's because of the gunas. It's got nothing to do with me, you know. I'm okay. So how do you balance?
No, in a sense, it is correct. If we do something bad, it's due to the rajas and tamas. Like Krishna, Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is compelling the living, the human being to committing bad actions, even against his will? And Krishna said, Kama esha krodha esha raja guna samodbhava.
Indeed, but Mataji, my question to you then is, how do you, because we see a lot of other religions who absolve themselves of any blame by saying, I'm a sinner, I've sinned, therefore...
they don't absolve themselves. They want absolution from the political church.
Yeah, but my point here is, Mataji, is there not a danger that you absolve yourself of any responsibility?
That's what I was going to... That's what I was going to add, and you you were faster than me. The point is that all the actions are performed by the gunas, as Krishna says, prakrite kriya manani guna karmani sarvasaha. Krishna says very clearly, guna karmani sarvasaha. Karmani sarvasaha. All the actions, parakrite kriya manani, are performed by the gunas, the prakriti, the gunas. Now, the point is that we, as the Atman, have the free will and the power to choose which guna we want to associate with. That is our responsibility. The action itself is a consequence. The actual karma we make is when we choose to associate with a particular guna, to choose to perform a particular action. We make a choice. We are Purusha and Prakriti at the same time. As Purusha, we are not performing the action, but we are choosing which part of our Prakriti will perform the action. That is our responsibility, and that's where we pay the karma.
Do the gunas come from Prakriti, from Durga Devi, Mataji?
Yeah.
What's the relationship between them?
Daivi hiesha guna mai, mama maya duratyaya. The guna mai, maya, the maha maya is, it creates the triguna. But it's a divine energy. So the three gunas are, material gunas are sattva, rajas, tamas. Now it's a choice we have. It's like the three different answers you have to a question on a school test paper. You can choose sattva, you can choose rajas, you can choose tamas. It's up to you. Now, the correct answer is sattva. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, nitya sattva. We should, says Arjuna, you should, but everybody should, become situated on sattva. Because from sattva, we can only do good karma. But when we actually achieve the spiritual realization, we go beyond the material sattva, we attain the level of Suddha sattva, pure sattva, transcendental sattva. Now, when we engage our body and mind in the gunas, and then the body and mind and the gunas, perform the actions. Okay. Now, our responsibility is limited in the sense that our choice can be more or less limited. So, the calculation of the effects of karma is not so automatic. It's subject to several factors. One of the factors is our freedom of choice. The karma is applied not to the action in itself, but to the choice. If someone, forces us to commit some adharmic action, our karmic responsibility is very limited. Right? When we have no choice, we have no karma.
Yes.
So, the point is, when we don't do anything selfishly, all our choices are motivated by the spiritual consciousness, the devotional consciousness in Suddha Sattva, then there is absolutely no karma involved. We are free from karma. That is called akarma. Always still in Gita, Krishna is explaining the difference between karma, vikarma, and akarma. Vikarma is a bad action, what we say will cause bad karma. which is the action that is not in accordance to the Shastra, that the action that is not in sattva, the action that is not for the benefit of everyone. Karma is the proper action, your proper duty, selfless duty. You do your best, for the society, for the Vishwarupa. That is a good karma. Bad karma is when you do against the good of the Vishwarupa, but for your selfish purposes. Selfish means you and what you consider mine. Mamatva, aham mamatva. Which means your family as opposed to anyone else. Your nation as opposed to anyone else. Your species as opposed to anyone else. That's also selfish. Aham mama. You understand? But akarma is when you are on the transcendental level, so you are not really choosing. Because you are doing, you're in full consciousness of the complete Tat. Om Tat Sat. When you act naturally, spontaneously, in the service of the absolute, of the total existence, it's just like the hand works for the benefit of the body without having to think about it. Karma and vikarma require some thinking, require some choice. But akarma is not a choice. It's just like, it's a complete Krishna consciousness. Because you don't see any separation, any possibilities of separation for your benefit and the benefit of God or the entire universal community. You're not thinking about your own good. You're not thinking about me and mine. You understand?
I do, Mataji. That is very, very clearly explained. So I have one final question in this absolutely absorbing discussion. I have one final question, if I may ask this.
Sure.
So you've articulated the three types of karma.
Yeah.
So, Mataji, for the average person, does this mean that I should reject wealth, Mataji? Does this mean that I go to the supermarket and buy the cheapest vegetables? Does this mean, Mataji, that I don't drive a reasonable car? I drive a absolute banger of a car because,
you don't even drive a car, you just walk.
Better still, I'll just drive a car. I'll ride a cart and horses to work every day. And you know what? I won't wear decent clothes. I'll wear the cheapest rags in the world. Is this a rejection of wealth, Mataji? Or
where's the wealth there? Okay. Because you are not you're not thinking in terms of I and mine, aham mama. You're not thinking in terms of attraction or rejection. Because you're thinking in terms of your service, your devotional service to the Vishwarupa, to Krishna, if you want, then you can accept whatever is useful, whatever is necessary, whatever is good for your service. Because even the renunciation doesn't mean rejection. Renunciation means that you are not attached, means detachment. If you have it, okay. If you don't have it, okay. But why you are trying to get it? Because if you get it, you can use it properly for your service.
Makes perfect sense, Mataji. Absolutely. Again, it's the consciousness that is the prime.
Yeah, it's the only point.
As opposed
yeah.
to,
yeah.
So you can have a really nice car, but it's your consciousness, if you can afford it, of course, and it's your consciousness that determines that really is important. It's not that fact that, oh, I can afford a really nice car, but you know what? I'm going to find the cheapest car going because
no, it depends on what you mean by very nice. Because if your idea of very nice is very functional, working properly,
yes, indeed.
You know, it's okay. If you think that very nice means flashy, expensive.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying.
And now, flashy and expensive is a different thing.
Well, Mataji, you're an Italian.
Yeah. Yeah, Ferrari is not the best, best vehicle to go, to commute to work.
Mataji, can you be a Dami and buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? Is that compatible?
It may not be. It may not be, but if Ferrari or Lamborghini as companies, manufacturing companies, are actually manufacturing car models that are very practical and very functional for the work you do, then okay. But if you have to spend, I don't know, £200,000 for a car, because it looks good, because it makes other people envious, because it makes you feel you're important because you have the car, you're wealthy, you're successful, how does it help your service?
It doesn't. It has no bearing on it whatsoever.
Exactly. Actually, it has a negative bearing.
So, with that being said, Mataji, let's talk at another level. If I go to the gym, lift weights, which I do, and I enjoy it, if I do that for the purposes of fitness, strength, for keeping on working, serving Sri Krishna, that's good.
Yeah.
But if I do it to become some athletic, if I do it
to attract the women so that you can have a lot of lovers.
Yes,
that's stupid.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. So again, it's the consciousness that determines it, but there is a level beyond which.
Let's go back to the food, because food is more important than cars or gym or whatever. Let's go back to the food. Very basic. Everybody needs food. You said if you go to a supermarket and get the cheapest vegetable. Well, if the cheapest vegetables is also the best one for your health, why not? But it's not. You can get good food that is healthy, that is supporting your needs both physically and mentally. Then food in Sattva Guna. Food that gives you health and strength and happiness of mind. That's his description of foods in Bhagavad Gita. It's not just the physical effect, it's also the mental effect. So, that is money well spent. Oops. Okay, we lost the connection for a moment. Yeah, well, at least this is what my computer tells me. But it's trying to reconnect. And probably, yeah, you can appear again. Can you hear me? Yeah, apparently not. And pling plong. Let's see if the connection is there or not. And completely black. Okay, anyway, so this is the idea, you know. We need to understand that it is appropriate to receive, to take, to accept what is our share. And our share is what we require to go on with our service. That's the idea. Okay. So I think that the connection is not coming back. So we'll close here. And maybe we can resume the conversation in some other recording. Jai Jagannath.